Good evening, I'm Dr. Catherine Horton. I just want to show you, essentially I've been now cowering, literally just wrapping this around my head for the past hour, but the actual shots are so intense. Essentially I actually had wrapped this around like like this almost, and in the beginning, but one layer of aluminium wasn't enough, and then they just kept shooting at my head. Literally, these just non-stop shots. It's unbelievable. I'm so exhausted. I'm trying to can you see that stuff like there? It's just non-stop shots. And I'm trying to, sorry, I'm not going to wear this whilst I'm talking to you, but I'm trying to answer all your questions, and it's really fantastic questions. But just imagine you have to go through this. Like there you saw another shot, and the energy deposited actually in my skull is just unbelievable. So I'm trying to go through and just, really, what's it called, do it justice, do all your work justice by actually giving you, answers and reading every single one of the comments, but it's just so extremely difficult. So I think what I'm going to do tomorrow is literally start a campaign to just, literally just an amnesty style campaign to have these 4 men written to, because I can't take it. I mean, I can't physically take it anymore. My hip hurts where they hit it, and it seems like with radiation they can trigger an old injury again. And it's just, so now it's my hip and also my kidney on the same side, and it's just, within just 1 year, they've managed to, I went from being a perfectly healthy woman to essentially just a wreck. They literally just publicly demolish your health. And and on the other, meanwhile, whilst I'm holding this, you don't see anything, because sometimes these shots come from this side and it's, shot into my head here. Sometimes it's from that side. And I'm just exhausted. There you go. There you saw a couple of shots. I don't want to turn it on because my husband's already sleeping. He's got a really long work day tomorrow. But you have to think, it's not just me going through this, oh man, now it's legit a pencil beam into my spine. Like, the stuff into your spine is so painful. It is so painful, and it's just, how sadistic can someone be to actually just microwave someone? And this is essentially what happens. So when they start up these games, and I don't know how they're doing it, because I've now got shielding all around me, but either they're shooting through the ceiling, or I don't know what, or they're literally just using back reflections. But when they start up, you just don't know which of your body parts to actually defend. And oh man, I'm so sorry, but I just received a massive pulse into my back, and it's just, anything onto the spine is just agonizingly painful. It really is just like, paralyzing. But I mean, we have literally come to this, that our own intelligence agencies are now publicly mutilating. So everything else was hidden, like poisoning baby powder and all this sort of stuff. And when there was a scandal, people were at least told off. And now, a couple of years later, we're at the stage where people are literally being publicly mutilated and publicly tortured to death. And somehow the police thinks it's okay to stand by. So literally, what I'm going to do next is I'm so sorry. But this is basically what it's like. So when I shoot videos where I'm not hissing and I'm not, curling around in pain, that's because it takes a lot of self-control. And I don't have it now at 20 to midnight after a day of this. And also when they're shooting at my head, I don't have nerves inside. So, but now they really hit me in inside the body. So anyway, but this is really important, because so what I want to show you in the next 2 videos that I upload is essentially the nonsense I was exposed to when I tried to report a very brutal attack to my head. So I traveled to the UK to as an observer, to actually meet Dr. Stephen Frost, a whistleblower, a double whistleblower in the UK, and actually attend his tribunal hearing in Manchester. and I travelled to Manchester. I was shot in the head on the same spot as in my kitchen here in Switzerland. So from an emitter at the neighbour's house, they shot into the back of my head, and as I was travelling on the motorway, I was shot on the same position from a car behind me, and that then overtook me. And in overtaking, essentially just started hammering, shots along my skull and then to the front, and then, it pulled in front of another car. So then imagine I arrive at the hotel. In one day I have flown to the UK, I've driven from London to Manchester, I'm absolutely exhausted in the evening. And then I go to bed and I thought, I will be okay in the UK. So I didn't put any shielding on my head. And essentially my entire right-hand side of my head was cooked that night. So the next morning I felt damaged. I felt like my eye just feels funny. And my skin was burning, and inside my head just felt utterly damaged. So you suddenly have an asymmetric feeling. So your right-hand side of your skull doesn't feel like your left-hand side. And so I drove into Manchester because it was really important to me to actually attend the hearing. And then I sat through that, and I talked to Dr. Stephen Frost, his lawyers, and the journalists there. And then in the evening, I drove back to my hotel. I dropped off some stuff, and then I drove to find a police station to report this to, because the judge at my hearing in the High Court asked me if I'd ever reported this to police, and I said yes, I have in Switzerland, but not in the UK, and in any case, most police officers don't know about electromagnetic weapons. So then after this really insane assault overnight in my hotel room, by the way, being assaulted at night has now happened, all the time. It happened in Rotterdam when I attended the victim meeting. It happened in Spain after I emailed the Bundesnachrichtendienst requesting cease and desist, and after I've submitted a complaint to the Investigatory Powers Tribunal. Then I was attacked in that was what's it called? It was essentially a private rental that we got. So not actually a hotel, it was a private flat that we'd rented over, Airbnb. But then when my husband and I this summer wanted to go for just a brief holiday in Italy, they moved in demonstratively. We arrived at 1 a.m. and a girl was just waiting in a taxi until we walked in, and then came in with not a single suitcase, literally just there in jeans and t-shirt, and just, checked in after us. So, the only thing she had was a passport, and I couldn't see what passport that was. And then while she was checking in, it's like a couple just wheeled in this ginormous orange suitcase, which could have had the actual assault equipment in it. But essentially at night, they ended up, these attackers, in a hotel room next to us. So as I was lying in bed, my head was facing the wall and the room next door, and from that the top of my skull got absolutely cooked at night. So I woke up with agonizing pain, and essentially the top of my skull just burning. And that was just in August, this summer, after my third High Court hearing. And then I travelled back to the UK at the end of October, and the following two videos will show you what happened. So at first I went to a police station to report it. I spoke to the receptionist, and I'll upload two videos. One of them is so sorry, just to explain what happened. I went to the police station after I've been again assaulted in a hotel room, and this time really damaged very, very badly. So, for half a day I felt like half my face was just burnt, and, I had a weird headache just on one half of my head. And I went to the police station at Ashton-under-Lyne, that's Greater Manchester Police, where I was staying in the hotel, and I spoke to a receptionist, and he said to me, he briefly recorded what I told him, and I said I was assaulted with microwave weapons, and that I wanted to report this crime. And then he asked me to sit down for 20 minutes, so to sit down, and I was waiting for 20 minutes, and then I think after 20-25 minutes I was told by him, I was again waved into the reception area and said, go back to your hotel and an officer will see you there. And I thought, of course it makes sense, because I say I've been attacked from next door, so probably they will want to check out next door. And I drove back, and fortunately I recorded the entire thing, and I got back into the car, and I said, okay, I was told to drive back, and now I'm driving back to to my hotel. And I was waiting in my hotel, I think for an hour and a half, and no police officer came. And then eventually I called Greater Manchester Police again and asked to be put through to Ashton-under-Lyne Police Station, and they did. And I asked an officer if people are going to come that night. And I'm not sure if on the phone I spoke to the receptionist, that was Tony Webb again, or was somebody else. But on the phone, this guy checked the computer and he said, "Oh no, don't worry, the officer's going to come tomorrow morning." Because I said, "Look, it's now, whatever it was, 11:15. Shall I wait up? Or, I really want to go to bed, so if the officer's not going to come, I don't really want to wait up in vain. So can I perhaps go to bed?" And he checked the computer and he said, "Don't worry, you can go to bed, the officer's going to come tomorrow." Okay. So fortunately, I didn't go to bed, 11:15 p.m. And instead I just kept writing up evidence about the assaults on me on the motorway, and just about other assaults, writing for the timeline and the evidence for my court case. And then literally an hour later, at midnight, suddenly there's this knock on my door, and the male voice commands me to open the door. And I went up there, and so the recording is, one of it is you can't see anything, it's just me holding the phone with the cover closed, and it's just recording that I'm talking to somebody through the hotel room door, and he claims to be from the ambulance service. And I say, "But I haven't called, an ambulance." And then, he said, "Well, it doesn't matter, open the door." I'm like, and this is a hotel without night reception staff. So I didn't even know how this guy ended up in front of my door. And I thought, well, heck knows. I received death threats and survived an assassination attempt. And I'm not going to open the door, a woman on my own, when a man commands me to open the door, claiming to be from the ambulance service.